Hello and welcome to Crimewatch. What does more than £1 million worth of jewellery look like? Well, Fiona has a brochure that might interest you.
I certainly do. Now, if anyone has tried to give you these pieces either side of Christmas, here, look, take a look at these, then keep your eyes glued for the next few minutes. The story starts in that corridor of Cheshire, popular with footballers with expensive tastes.
This is Grove Street, right in the centre of Wilmslow. There are 4 men on motorcycles. One of them's got a gun and they're heading for this jeweller's.
Back of the shop, we're being raided! Just drop everything, get to the back of the shop, keep out of the way! Leave it!
Keep out of my way!
I was followed into the store by 2 men. One dived over the counter to the main jewellery window and started smashing the glass door.
Put those things back and get out of my shop! Out of my shop! I'm telling you now, get out! Intimidate me now! Hold it! Get him out of this shop! I'm warning you! Out!
Put the chair down now! Move to the back of the shop!
I became aware that the other man was aiming a gun at my head, and he fired the gun.
Out of my shop! Back of the shop!
The fact that somebody was quite prepared to kill me to get that jewellery is just something you can't take on board, really. Had I moved my head millimetres to one side, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be dead.
This is Twinnie's Bridge car park, and this is the last sighting we've had of the robbers. This has been a very professional job and has been committed by men who are prepared to kill to get what they want.
They certainly were prepared to kill, weren't they, Dave? And a member of the public caught much of the aftermath of that robbery on tape, didn't they? We can take a look at that.
That's correct, yes. He actually filmed one of the witnesses giving chase to the robbers down a pedestrianised area. Shortly after that, he captured footage of the jeweller who had been knocked unconscious during the raid.
Lying on the ground. I mean, certainly if you ever doubted how true to life our Crimewatch reconstructions are, there's your answer, because that's exactly what it looked like. Now, the grenade that's causing all that smoke there that they use, where would they have got that from?
Well, that grenade is only available to the military, so we presume it's either been stolen from military premises or acquired by someone with military connections.
And they were prepared to kill, weren't they? I mean, it's extraordinary that jeweller didn't have his brains blown out. I mean, it was 2 shots at point-blank range.
Yeah, the gun was pointed directly at his head. 2 shots were fired. One went into the ceiling of the shop, the other one grazed the side of the jeweller's head.
Now, when we were filming that reconstruction in the park, a woman came up to us and said that she'd been there the day when those bikes rode past and nearly crashed into her and her child. So there's one witness we've got for you, but you want other witnesses to call in tonight, don't you?
Yes, I do. There must be other witnesses, perhaps, who have seen the motorcycles being loaded into the white van prior to the robbery, or even after the robbery. Also, anyone that may have been looking at the jewellers, acting suspiciously in that area or the area of the park.
And what do you know about the 2 bikes?
The 2 bikes, one's a red Honda, the other one's a yellow Suzuki. Both are trail bikes, and the yellow Suzuki had a number 41 written on the side.
And then there were the 2 white vans as well, weren't there?
Yeah, one was a large transit van, the second one was a smaller white box van with a side door.
And because certainly one of the drivers was hanging around there, we've got a decent e-fit of one of the van drivers, haven't we?
We have, yes. He's described as a white male, a late 20s, early 30s. He's medium build and he's got short black hair.
Of the jewellery that was taken, this one particular piece was taken. There's only 8 of them in the country, and it's very distinctive, isn't it?
It is, yes. That's valued at £8,000. All the jewellery that was stolen is quite exclusive.
Now, on the back, it's got Robert Quattrocento written there, and it's got, look, can you see a little ruby there? There's also a certification in which we're showing on our website. If you've been given this or received this in some way, either side of Christmas, quite likely it's been stolen. As I say, there are only 8 in the country. Call us here in the studio if you know anything about, if you recognise this or know anything about the people who stole it, or you can call the instant room on 01244 614 620.
Crimewatch viewers have once again played their part in helping get some real results, and none more so than helping jail one of the most violent and dangerous criminals in Britain. That's actually a quote about him. Last Friday, Gary Nelson was told he would have to serve at least 35 years for a double murder back in 1993. Nelson, for some reason, had taken a dislike to Kwame Danso and went round to Kwame's house and shot him. PC Patrick Dunn happened to be dealing with a domestic dispute nearby, and on hearing the gunfire, went out to see what was going on. Nelson simply shot him too. Then he laughed and fired into the air as he left the scene. Now, Nelson was the prime suspect from fairly early on, but the evidence just wasn't strong enough to go to court, and he went on to commit other offences, including possession of firearms and then a road rage shooting. But with the murder still unsolved, we put out a reconstruction in 2001, and the very next day a crucial new witness came forward. So much so, after the trial last week, the detective in charge said, in my opinion, we could never have charged Nelson without that Crimewatch appeal. But the case isn't closed yet. Nelson's 2 accomplices are still wanted. If you know anything about who his associates were back then, do call us, please, in confidence.
Last year, we named Alfie Blacker as the key suspect in the murder of 21-year-old Sean Edwards. Sean was stabbed in the chest in Manchester 3 years ago. Blacker went on the run, but police finally caught up with him in Glasgow 4 months after our appeal. Last month, he was sentenced to life.
Last November, we featured a heist at a warehouse near Heathrow Airport. You might remember the reconstruction. Masked men hijacked the warehouse owner. They took more than £1 million worth of phones and computer bits. As a direct result of the Crimewatch appeal, police arrested 7 men earlier this month, and so far, 4 have been charged with conspiracy to handle stolen goods.
A missing 13-year-old girl has been found safe and well in Folkestone. We appealed for information on her first disappearance last November. She watched the programme and returned home safely the next day, but she went missing again. She was found last month with a 37-year-old man. He's now been charged with child abduction and 4 sexual offences.
Just time for one more right now. About a year ago, 20-year-old Nakeen Charles was stabbed to death in a home in Walthamstow in East London. 4 men have recently been charged in connection with her murder. But now officers want your help to find Stephen Samuel. He's originally from Montserrat, though he's thought to live somewhere in North London. He's tall, he's about 6'2". He has a Caribbean accent, and don't approach him, please. Call us. There's a £20,000 reward. Still to come, how police on Merseyside are hitting back against a spate of cash-in-transit robberies.
And how they need your help to nail one of the most vicious gangs involved.
Also to come, some of the worst pictures of street violence we have ever seen.
I think the only thing they wanted to do that night was hurt someone, if not kill them. I think I was the unlucky person. I'm licking me now talking about it when I could have been dead there and then.
Now that CCTV, when we see it fully later, may nonetheless be the best chance of finding the 4 men who came close to killing that entirely innocent young man.
Well, our lines are already busy. Our next case involves just one man, but a man who went round with a hammer in a carrier bag. He's a character really crying out to be caught by Crimewatch viewers. There's a real worry he may repeat what he did in a Surrey churchyard just before Christmas.
Hey babe, I'm at the station. Yeah, I'll be there about 9. You too. I'll see you in a bit. Bye.
It was just before Christmas. I'd just finished work. Being a student, I just worked part-time. But once I'd finished, I was making my way to see my boyfriend at his house. It's a good half-hour walk, but money's not great, so walking is kind of my only option. I can't really afford to take taxis everywhere all the time. For most of the journey, I walk through main roads, but when I get to the end, I take a shortcut through a cemetery. It's a pretty normal shortcut. Most people use it, most students use it all the time. It cuts a good 10 minutes off my journey. You don't think too much about taking the shortcut. It wasn't that late. And generally there are still people around.
I'm not going to rape you. I just want to see your knickers.
No!
Do you want me to hit you again?
No!
Then show me. Now take them off.
Please don't make me do this!
My head was in so much pain. I was just trying so hard to stay conscious. I was terrified that something was really wrong and that it could be fatal.
Oh no. Babe, it's all right, it's okay. Just call an ambulance, yeah? Yeah. Oh, what's happened? Oh, come here, it's okay. Don't worry.
When I got to the hospital, I was a real mess. I was suffering from concussion. I ended up with a fractured skull and all of my head was really swollen. I had a fractured jaw, which has caused problems not only with my mouth, but with all of my teeth. I had a dent in one cheek, which hasn't gone, it's actually getting worse. The hammer actually left a permanent mark. I have a circle on the side of my head, which is the exact size of the hammer. That'll be there forever.
It seems clear that the man with the hammer followed his victim into the churchyard, and police think this is him. Caught on camera is his carrier bag and short beige Mac. He's 30 to 40, roughly 5'9" or 5'10".
I'm just really, really angry at him. I can't understand why someone would do that sort of thing to another person, or what I did to provoke such violence. It's had an effect on my entire life, not just the hospital visits and all of the surgery, but the psychological effects it's had on me. This guy, this man, he needs to be caught.
He certainly does. And this is Gary Sumner who's trying to catch him.
Phoebe.
You think he's done this before and you're frightened he's going to do it again?
Absolutely, yes. We had an attack about 10 months before this one in February last year. That was in Virginia Water Great Park.
Which is very close.
It's about half a mile away from the cemetery of this attack. On that occasion, a 19-year-old student was walking through the park. She heard the sound of footsteps coming from behind her. She thought it was just a runner. As the man passed, he stopped and punched her twice, very sort of forcibly in the face.
How badly was she hurt?
She lost teeth from the front of her upper jaw. It was that bad.
And how did she get away?
Well, fortunately, we think the man's mobile phone was activated. She then managed to run off and make good her escape.
It's quite possible this guy's attacked lots of other women who haven't come forward.
I think that could well be a possibility, yes.
And if so, it's really important that any woman in this area, which is all around Egham in Surrey, really does say they've been worried by a guy who fits this sort of description.
Yes, it's a very small area, it's a small village and small community. Someone clearly must know him.
Well, they must. I mean, look, just tell us what we know about him. We know he's 30 to 40.
Yes.
Yeah? And he seemed quite well dressed, actually, when we saw him on that CCTV.
Indeed, he's a white man, as you say, 30 to 40 years, 5'9" to 5'10" inches tall. He has dark, sort of wavy hair, and you know, someone must have seen him or known him. He's a tanned, ruddy complexion.
And if he's got a girlfriend or a wife, maybe they know. He seems to have this sort of underwear fetish. Show us your knickers.
That's certainly a theme that's happened, and someone might know that might mean something to someone.
Well, of course, it might just be his own little secret. Who knows? Witness. We know, because we saw it in the reconstruction, there was a lad with a bike who was
Yes,
just
there was.
smoking,
Yes,
having
yes.
a cigarette in the
18 to 20-year-old
churchyard.
lad was sat in the churchyard. He's wearing dark clothing, he's got round rimmed glasses and a green mountain bike. So we've asked him to come forward, please. He's obviously very important to us.
And what is also very important is that the level of violence is going up. We've got to find this guy. If you live anywhere around Egham, just think of anybody who's odd, anybody who that could be. Maybe he's not odd day to day, we just don't know. But call us here in the studio or call the incident room on 0845 125 2222. Now, DC Rav Wilding has 9 robbers caught on camera.
Yeah, but catching them for real is where you come in. Here they are. An electrical shop in Croydon. Clock the poser on his mobile. He's posing as a genuine customer with a genuine means of paying. But he's after a £600 plasma TV with someone else's credit card. He seems pleased with his flat screen, even has a laugh and a joke. To turn the joke on him, we need his name. More plasma screens about to be stolen here in York. But this isn't a one-man job. A group of 6 bundle into an electrical warehouse. Their big idea is to set off a smoke device to cloud the CCTV camera. But there's no smoke without fire, and the glow actually highlights some of the number plate on their Ford Transit. It's K550, and we think it's an ex-British Telecom van. They steal £16,000 worth of goods and head off. Maybe they were stealing to order. If you can link the van and the men, give us a call. McDonald's in London's Leicester Square. Once this guy's relieved himself in the gents, he tries to relieve someone else of some cash. He follows a guy into the toilets and asks him for a £5. When he doesn't want to cough up the money, he gets punched repeatedly. Who is the bully in the loo? And who's the tall thief in the boiler suit? He wants the assistant in this jeweller's in Frodsham to get out some engagement rings. But while she's otherwise engaged, he snatches the trays and scarpers. She tries to stop him, but he grabs her and throws her to the ground. He jumps into a white Fiat Punto heading in the direction of Runcorn. Point him in our direction now.
So if you know any of these 9, the number to ring is on your screen.
Now, this next bit isn't for the squeamish. We want you to look at a head injury caused during a violent robbery. This is what was done to a jeweller outside his home last December in Sparkbrook in Birmingham. What you're seeing there, those aren't stitches. That is the pattern of the weapon used imprinted on his head. As he lay bleeding on his doorstep, 2 men stole his cash, some gold jewellery and his jeweller's tools. DC Danny Ames, that injury that we see there, you're pretty sure you know what he was hit with?
That's right, yeah. We believe it's a metal dumbbell, similar to what I've got here. The serrated edge is the area that's caused the wound.
So it's these lines along here?
That's right.
Now, have you ever come across something like that being used before?
I've never, ever come across a robbery or any job involving an implement like this at all.
Now, they didn't give him any warning. They didn't say, you know, hand it over or we'll cosh you over the head with this. They just came out to him, whacked him on the head. There was so much blood, you thought you turned up at a murder scene, didn't you?
I genuinely did, yeah. The blood stretched some 30 feet up the pavement to his front door and across his window frame and everything.
He was incredibly lucky to have survived.
That's right.
It was 6:40 in the evening. He was coming home from work. He was just walking up the path to his front door, Larches Street,
That's right.
in Sparkbrook in Birmingham. What about witnesses?
We've tried everything we can. We've canvassed, we've done door-to-door, we've done substantial inquiries, and at the present time we've got no witnesses at all. No one's come forward saying that they either saw anything or they know anybody involved.
Now, it may be your best hope that someone is going to know who these attackers are because they know of their connection with this dumbbell, now a weapon. What do you know about the attackers?
That's right. We know that they are 2 black men, dark-skinned, Somali and possibly African, late teens, early 20s, slim build, 5'7", wearing dark clothing. That's all we've got at the moment. And obviously my appeal is for anybody in the area at the time who saw what happened or knows these people, especially if they know anybody who carries
with a weapon
something
like this. Well, here you go. This is it. Call us here in the studio if you can link 2 men or 1 man in particular with this. If you can help us, call us here or you can text us. Text CW followed by your message to 83199.
Editor Jackie Hames is out on the road for us. So tonight we have Detective Sergeant Jane Corrigan with us with a very nasty double rape.
Have a look at these 2 guys here. This is the waterfront in Briley Hill, West Midlands. These 2 guys here aren't looking for a pub or a club. They're looking for a girl to rape.
That's correct. So this is a picture of them a couple of hours before they both raped the same girl.
And this is June last year, the waterfront.
That's correct. You can see them here just walking up and down outside the complex.
Okay, so ultimately they're just looking for this girl, but they do go into a pub at some point.
Yes, they do. They enter one of the clubs called PJ's. You can see the man there in the background, and then as it comes out here, you can see his friend who's at the bar buying a drink.
And they just buy 1 drink within the hour between them, and then they leave. Where do they go from there?
That's right. Well, again, they come out onto the waterfront complex. You can see the one on the right here is lighting up a cigarette, obviously a smoker.
Yeah, and what happens here? They appear to be sitting here and then follow this girl off.
That's right. There's the 25-year-old student there as she walks down the canal.
And this is called the canal path, and that leads us towards where?
That leads towards the 9-lock system.
Okay, and they follow her down this pathway.
Yes, you can see that the first man joined and then the second man's run to join up.
And they appear to kind of take her down that path, don't they, to the area that they rape her?
That's correct, and you can see it's just off there on the left-hand side. That's where they rape her.
And shortly afterwards they get disturbed, and here we see them running off.
That's correct.
That's about 20 minutes later.
Yes.
These are really good pictures of the 2 of them. If you know who they are, please call us tonight. 0500 600 600.
In the trade, it's called CIT, cash in transit, the vans that help stop banks and shops and ATMs. Over the last year, there's been a spate of robberies against them, often violent, and especially bad on Merseyside. There's been a huge response by the police, though they still need your help. They set up what they call the Matrix team, and they don't muck about.
Well, when I arrived about 18 months ago, I found a really good force. However, one of the things we did notice was that there was an awful lot of firearms events, and there was also an awful lot of cash in transit robberies. That's where cash being delivered to shops, and people were hitting the security firms as they went across the pavement. So what we decided to do was to create 4 syndicates, 2 dedicated to drugs, 1 about firearms, and 1 about cash in transit robberies. On one side, we used people who were hidden, people who would investigate in a covert way, and on the other side, people who are very upfront, who are going to get out there and disrupt the pattern of life for some organised criminals.
This is the hard edge of Matrix policing. These officers target those involved in criminality. They stop them, they search the cars, they arrest them for any criminality at all. This is what they do day to day, 24 hours a day. They target the right people for the right offences.
Okay. Have you got anything on you that you shouldn't have? No. Is there anything on the car that shouldn't be there? No. Okay, just keep your hands away from you. Just turn around, face the car for me. I'm just going to give it a quick search, okay?
Yeah. Any controls available? First Street Drive North, pursuing a silver. Okay, so the vehicle's now been sort of stopped, yeah?
Well, probably the best indicator I can give you is that as I arrived, we're getting cash in transit robberies at 1 a day. So if you think during a month, that's 20 or 30 robberies. Well, the last few months, we've had 1 a month. So we've gone from about 30 down to 1.
As you can see, we're following a marked vehicle here that's following a cash in transit van. We do this quite obviously to deter people from actually attacking the vans. This is one way used to hit the criminal gangs hard, to prevent them financing what they're trying to finance, which is expanding their criminal activities. It's not the only way we do follow them, however.
Just coming onto the junction with all the road held in the lights. Okay, there's a bank on the corner there. Is there? Yeah. Okay. Clearly see the registration number. Clearly see the writing on the bank on the wall. And we'll follow this now till it's hopefully to the next drop.
Matrix has been massively successful. I'm delighted with the results we've had so far. We've dramatically cut the number of cash in transit robberies, we've drastically reduced the number of serious injury shootings, and we know we're hitting criminals where it hurts, and they know who we are, and we know who they are. So why have we come to Crimewatch? Despite the fact we've caught and convicted lots of people involved in cash in transit robberies, these people here haven't yet been caught, and I'm particularly keen to do so. They are Patrick Smeeder, John Paul Mulhall, Mark Buckley, and Christopher O'Brien. And I particularly need to know who this man is here, who together with his criminal gang commits a particularly serious cash in transit robbery on the Wirral in September.
So we're looking for these 4. Take a good look. Here they are. And in addition, this one, the one looks as if he's just been down Specsavers. He's also wanted for another raid, one where he and a gang used sickening tactics. To hide certain details, we're showing this in black and white. As you'll see, the gang's first priority was transport.
Sod it!
Sorry, mate, I never saw the light.
All right, I mean, look, let's just get some details and move on. It's getting later.
Go and get the insurance.
All right, fine. I mean, it's not too
I'm
bad,
sorry,
but
mate,
I mean,
know, but
really, I
we
mean...
shouldn't really have done it. Hey, hey, get up! Hey, hey! Open the door! Open this door! Hey, hey!
I really need the public's help with some information. Did you see these 2 vehicles being stolen? Where were these vehicles in the days afterwards they were stolen for the following few days? Because as we know, on the 20th of September, they were involved in a really serious cash in transit raid.
This time next week, it'll be me and the wife on the beach.
Where are you off to?
Tenerife.
That's all right. How much was that?
Well, £600 for 2 of us, all inclusive. It's not bad, that, is it?
Well, we'd done several jobs before we arrived at this bank. Had a good look around to make sure that there weren't any suspicious-looking characters about. Didn't spot anyone, so I proceeded to take the coin in.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine, yourself?
Yeah, good, thanks. I've got a few boxes for you today.
Yeah, fine, no problem.
I thought you were moving branches anyway.
Oh, no, not anymore. No.
Good. Right, it's the last box for you now. I'm glad you decided to stay at this branch anyway.
Yeah, I'll be here a while.
Good.
You give me the money now! Listen, you give me the money now! Listen, I'm telling you! Give me the money now! No! Let's go, grab him! Go on, let's go!
They were threatening extreme violence towards me, and I felt that if I hadn't have gone along with them, they could have got very, very nasty and caused extreme physical injury.
Move! Go! Go! Where's the other bag? You don't give us it, you don't... Where's the other bag? Where's the bag? Damn it!
For security reasons, we can't show what happened next. The gang used horrifying tactics seldom seen before in Britain. It makes them among the most wanted men in the country.
Let's go! Go!
People probably think that the large companies, i.e. security companies and banks, can afford the losses, but it's not so much that as the threat of violence on the members of staff. Sooner or later, these people will injure somebody severely.
I mean, he was very lucky not to be injured severely himself. He was terrorised during this attack, Andy, wasn't he? I mean, it demolishes the idea that this is a victimless crime, you're against big companies or big banks, because it's one individual there, as we saw.
Very much so. I think we sometimes forget that these attacks aren't against banks, building societies or cash in transit companies. They're against ordinary people just doing the job and who face the daily prospect of quite violent attacks.
The stolen cars, the BMW first of all, what do you know about it?
The BMW was stolen 5 days before the robbery on Queen's Drive in Liverpool. It's a distinctive and expensive BMW 735i, which quite honestly you don't see many of in Liverpool.
And it was stolen with one set of number plates, which we're seeing there. That's the top set of number plates there, and then another clone set of number plates, M66, were put on afterwards.
That's right. Sometime before the robbery, they were added on, and someone must have seen this vehicle around Liverpool during those 5 days.
And the builder's van that was nicked as well?
The builder's van was stolen from Eastham Village Road on the Wirral 3 days before the robbery on the 17th of September. Again, quite distinctive lettering alongside the van, which says
G&C Roberts and Sons there, and then what was it, utility services underneath. So again, someone may know something about that too.
That's right.
I mean, what about the people who did this? Have you any idea they're part of a bigger criminal gang?
We know most criminal gangs engage in these sorts of robberies, but we need evidence against them, obviously, to convict them. Whilst we may have some ideas who they are, we just need the public's help to find out exactly who these people are.
Now, as far as one person goes, we've got a very good e-fit of the man in specs that we saw there at the end. For people who might be hesitating about grassing the others who were involved in this, we didn't show what happened afterwards, but it was so horrifying that they should have no reservations about calling up and dobbing these people in, should they?
No, this was a particularly terrifying and terrible attack. Any relative, friend or criminal associate who knows these men, knows what they've done, and has a single shred of human decency needs to tell us who they are.
Well, if you're living with one of these robbers, or you know who they are, believe me, what they did was as cowardly as it was cruel. And there's a very substantial reward, if that helps things along. Call us here in the studio, or call the instant room on 0151 777 8456. Or you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
I'm afraid there is an unusual amount of violence on tonight's programme, and I do need to warn you about the CCTV that we're showing next. In fact, we thought long and hard about showing it at all. A lot of people will be upset by it, and everyone, I think, is going to be angered about it. But when you see it, you'll understand why it is so important to show it, to catch the 4 men involved. This will show their friends and their relations just what they did to an innocent man on a Saturday night in Newport in South Wales. Just see if you know any of these men. The victim there in the centre is outnumbered 4 to 1, and look, he's showing every sign he doesn't want any trouble. CCTV operator's trying to move in because he can see there is trouble. Guy's hit from behind, hit with a stave, then the other, all the 4 are on him. And as he's jumped on and kicked unconscious, he's then beaten with a heavy wooden stave. One of the thugs in the background there is making sure he gets his shoe back on before he stamps 4 times on the victim's skull. Not surprisingly, the victim is astonished that he survived.
Could have been dead there and then. And it's really upsetting to see that. I've got 4 people onto 1. I'm licking me now talking about it when I could have been dead. Makes me scared, angry, disgusted. You just enjoy stamping on people's heads. It's not normal. I have nightmares. I can't pick my daughter up anymore properly because of my neck injuries. And I've had 4 months off work. Every time you go out, you're just always looking behind you. Just don't feel safe. Grown man being scared to go out in town anymore just doesn't feel right. Someone needs to be brought to justice. How people can sleep after they've done something like this, I don't know.
An extraordinary piece of CCTV, and it really was unprovoked. Nothing happened before they were on camera, did it?
No, all the victim can be seen to be doing is he has his arms open, he's retreating. It's classic surrender. This person is trying to show that he wants no trouble at all, and nothing in the investigation has given line to any provocation or anything of that nature.
Have you ever seen any pictures like that before?
No, it's the worst attack that I've seen, and that sentiment has been echoed by police officers, by Crimewatch staff. It's a horrendous attack.
And you would have thought the family of those 4 would dob them in for this. This is just
absolutely
unbelievable.
Somebody knows who these people are. This is not a fight. This is not 2 people sorting the differences out. It is sick, and it's a calculated attack.
It's Saturday night, back in September. You've got them on camera. CCTV operators are rather good, and it got them on camera before this at a bus station.
That's correct. They're in the Newport bus station before this in a group, and 2 people approach them, a young couple. They exchange cigarettes, they talk for quite a large amount of time. The couple leave 4 minutes before this attack happens. They know the group, and they haven't seen probably until tonight what they've done, and we would urge them to come forward.
Well, it's pretty important they do, because other people will know who they are from Newport, and they're probably going to be ringing in a moment as well. Then we saw a witness who saw them running away. We need him to come forward. It was a taxi that took them away there. You've spoken to the taxi driver.
That's correct. They ran to a taxi and they got into a people carrier. That taxi driver tells us that on the way to being driven to their destination, they laughed, they joked, they bragged about what they had done. They were quite proud of it. They were taken to the Bettis estate, where they were dropped off in a bus stop on the corner of Frome Walk and Monoway, so we believe that they're local to the Newport area.
So let's talk straight to the people of Bettis estate. I mean, are these sort of people you want in your estate? I mean, they are just crazy.
Absolutely not. There's nothing to suggest why this person's been singled out. It could have been anyone, and it's a horrendous attack.
This is one of the things they hit him with. Broken, as you can see, left behind. It's in an evidence bag because the original is covered in blood and we can't show it. It's got this writing, very colourful on it, legalised, which means legalised cannabis. A pretty horrible weapon.
Yes, and it would appear that whoever's used this, it can be seen on the footage, he draws it out of his sleeve. He's been carrying it all night. It would appear they've intended to go out to attack somebody.
He just went out on a Saturday night to beat someone, and amazing that he survived. There's an officer over here who said he's dealing with a murder at the moment where there was 1 stamp on the head. This guy was stamped 4 times on the head. If you can help at all, give us a call here in the studio, or call the instant room on 01633 838 111.
A commuter who found himself sitting next to an aggressive stranger on his train home ended his journey nearly losing his sight in one eye. Amazingly, he was later able to video his attacker on his mobile phone. He's here with us to tell us what happened. Now, Steve, you've chosen not to show your face. I'm sure viewers will understand why. Just tell us what happened in the attack, first of all.
Yes, I boarded the train at 21:15 at Victoria Station on the evening of the 28th of June last year. A few minutes later, it stopped at Battersea Park Station, and two young men...
In southwest London?
Yeah, and two young men boarded the train. My attacker sat immediately to my left and his friend opposite him. He started engaging aggressively with myself. I tried to ignore it, even offered to shake hands to defuse the situation, and he wasn't having it. He tried to snatch my handheld laptop, and I held on to it, and he let go and came, you know, flying in with a very, very powerful left hook right into my right eyeball. I thought the eyeball itself had exploded, covered in blood, drenched.
And I know you've had a number of operations on your eye, haven't you, to try and save the sight in that eye. You went back to Battersea Park train station, didn't you, a few weeks later, to see if you could see your attacker. And you did see him, and you filmed him on your mobile phone as well.
Correct. It was also a Tuesday evening around the same time I went back to Battersea Park station, just in the off chance that he might be on a routine involved. And lo and behold, a few minutes later, he turned up standing feet away from me, so I started videoing him.
And he had a very distinctive tattoo, didn't he, on his shoulder just here?
Yeah, yeah. The tattoo said God's property in dark green ink.
In kind of old-fashioned English lettering?
Correct, yes.
Well, the fact that you saw him again has provided a fantastic clue. I mean, another clue is the fact that Battersea Park train station is near Battersea Athletics track, and both the attacker and his friend were dressed in athletic clothing on the night of the attack. DC Malcolm McCulloch, what more can you tell us about these two?
We believe they were training at Battersea Park in the athletics track before they got on the train at Battersea Park railway station. From the mobile phone features, you can see the attacker has got a powerful build, much like a sprinter. The friend, who we believe might be called Alex, forms part of this investigation. I'd like to speak to him to see what he has to say about this matter as well.
Because he had a pair of silver spike running shoes, didn't he?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, although he didn't throw the punch, as far as Steve's concerned, he was part of it. He was laughing, he was kind of egging his mate on, wasn't he?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, if he had no idea, perhaps, that was what was going to happen, that punch was going to be thrown, and he considers himself the innocent party, he better get on the phone pretty quick, hadn't he?
Yes, it would be to his advantage to contact us as soon as possible.
OK, well, there's a £5,000 reward. Call us here in the studio or call the incident room on 020 7391 5275.
Now, Jane and Ralph have some more wanted faces, but here, we already know who these are. What we want to know is where they are.
Shamooj Ali is wanted for 3 separate sex attacks in Dorset, Devon and Sussex. Last October, Ali was working as a chef in an Indian restaurant in Chichester. In an upstairs room, he threatened a 23-year-old woman with a kitchen knife, beat her, and across 6.5 hours, repeatedly raped her. He was later traced to Tower Hamlets in London. There, his own friends tried to get him to a police station, but he escaped. Ali's originally from Bangladesh with connections in East London. There's a £5,000 reward.
Suspected drug dealers Gul Alam and Amir Mohammed disappeared in Sussex last June. They'd been charged by West Yorkshire Police with importing drugs, but they jumped bail and haven't been seen since. They're from the Bradford area, but have Sussex connections in Crawley.
Sunderland man Anthony Craggs was charged with conspiracy to commit armed robbery 3 years ago, but he didn't turn up for trial. 3 other men were convicted of armed robbery and were jailed for a total of 42 years. Craggs is known to travel throughout the country and has contacts in Spain. Watch him, he may also be armed.
Paul Turner spends a lot of his time on the internet. The name he uses says everything about him. Shaved scum slave. He's a convicted sex offender and is wanted for possession of indecent images of children. He's often on the south coast around Bournemouth, Poole and Southampton, but he hasn't complied with the sex offenders register since he went missing 16 months ago. Have you seen him?
Call us here in the studio on 0500 600 600.
Last summer, an Australian, Newton Thompson, came to visit Britain. He'd never been abroad before. After visiting Edinburgh, he came back to London. It was Monday, August the 1st. Newton Thompson checked into the Bayswater Comfort Inn at 5:15 p.m. A couple of hours later, he's seen on his mobile just around the corner. Who was he talking to? Half an hour later, he's back. About 1:30 a.m., hotel guests heard a disturbance. In the morning, staff found Newton's body. He'd been robbed and beaten to death. A week later, someone was using Newton's credit card. It's 10:38 p.m. on Sunday, the 7th of August. A woman arrives at St Albans train station. CCTV shows her standing near the cash point where the stolen card was used. She could be a valuable witness. Who is she? Next morning, the card was used again, but by someone else. This time at the Barclays Bank in Hatfield, not far from St Albans. The woman makes repeated attempts to withdraw money, but fails, and eventually gives up. The card's not been used since. Well, DRC Smith, it hasn't been seen since. I mean, it was, let's just clarify, it was a debit card, wasn't it, not a credit card?
That's right, it's a debit card.
We can take a look at it here. This is an identical one, isn't it? There we are, National Visa, National Australian Bank card. You've got two women connected, possibly connected with this card. The first woman who's seen in the area of a cash point machine, she may be a witness. You'd very much like to speak to her, wouldn't you?
Very much so. There's no firm suggestion she's used the cash point, but she is in the area of that cash point. But she's in the area,
and so you'd like to speak to her. Now, the woman we see using it the next day, she does use it. That's for sure. She fails to get the money out.
She does.
Now, it's possible she may have got the card somehow and not have any idea it came from a murder.
That's exactly right. She may not know the origins of the card, but this is a murder investigation. She's very much involved in that investigation, and I would stress that this is her opportunity to come forward and eliminate her
Certainly,
from my
if she's
inquiry.
nothing to do with that murder, she's got a limited amount of time, and she needs to come forward and tell you now, doesn't she?
That's right, she does.
Other things were taken, weren't they, from Newton? There was some money, his passport, and then this tool bag. It's a very distinctive tool bag. This is identical, isn't it?
It's an identical bag to the one that is missing from Newton Thompson.
Trafalgar, TT for Trafalgar Tours.
That's correct.
Newton was gay, which may or may not have a bearing on his murder.
That's right.
You want to know, did anyone see him that night, and in particular, who was he talking to on the phone?
That's right. He, as we've heard, he was on the phone at about 7:20 that evening in Leinster Terrace. We don't know who that call is from or who is calling, so we'd like to know that information.
Tonight. Well, if you know anything at all about what happened to Newton, call us here, or the instant room on 0208 247 7821.
I said earlier we agonised about showing that explicit violence in the Newport attack. It's been worthwhile. The calls are really flooding in. We've had several people named, 5 so far. 2 have been named twice. Now, burglary has been rather going out of fashion of late. For about 10 years now, actually. It's fallen sharply and consistently. When it does happen, most burglars, if they're spotted, run away. But not 2 we're going to see now. They didn't count on the victim being home, and no one could have predicted they would react as they did.
It was nearly a year ago, but I remember it as if it was yesterday. When I felt the water filling up, I thought that was it. I was just bleeding everywhere. I'm an artist, and at the time I was producing about 1 piece or commission a week, and since then I haven't really been able to do anything. I work from a studio at home, which means that while my girlfriend goes out to work, I stay at home and work on commissions and upcoming shows in the studio. I was painting away and I heard something through the house. It was maybe a bird had flown in or something like that.
What are you doing? Get him! Come here! Get down! Get out! Hold it! Shut up! Get a blanket! Shut up! Put him in the bath! Go and get something to tie him up with! tied arms. Shut up!
Get off me!
We got a gun, mate. You want to get shot?
If it's money you want, you can have it. But I haven't got any in the house. You'll have to take my card.
Where are they?
In my back pocket.
What's the pin?
If you just take £100, I won't tell anyone.
We're in charge, we'll take what we want, all right? What's the number?
7768.
Huh?
7768.
All right, hold tight, mate.
I was face down in the bath with the bath filling up. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how to get out of the situation. I gave them a false PIN number, hoping that they'd both leave and that would allow me to free myself and call for assistance.
You go, I'm staying here. Take the bike.
When I realised that there's one guy still left in the house, I thought, right, this is it. And I realised at that point, because I'd given them a false PIN number, the one guy would be back, and then I'd be in serious trouble. I thought, this is the point that I've got to actually do something. It's going to get a lot worse. Blood coming out and going all over the floor, all over my, you know, obscuring my vision. I was just thinking I had to get some help at that point.
Oh God, what's happened?
I've been attacked.
Happened?
Burglars.
Oh God, let me get you some help. Hold on.
This was a very, very serious attack. The level of force used was just shocking. These two men seem to have no fear. They've broken into the victim's home at 4 p.m, broad daylight. He sustained some serious head injuries. Luckily for him, they weren't life-threatening. But at the time, these two men wouldn't have known that, and they just fled without a care.
I needed 40 stitches to my head, but when I got to the hospital, they were more concerned about my hand because one of the blows had severed the tendon, and I need to have reconstructive surgery on that, which lasted the better part of about 8 months. I had to move house because I didn't feel safe and certainly couldn't leave my girlfriend alone in the house on her own. And it's basically changed everything, and I've had to reassess everything and start from scratch.
Maria, the violence really was much worse than actually we showed, and this is what he was hit with. It's a bike D-lock. Actually, not this one, because the original one is covered in blood. It's an exhibit,
right.
of course. But it's a good EFID. You're pretty confident it's a good EFID,
Yeah, I mean, the victim's an artist, and he paid particular attention to detail, so I'm quite confident that it's going to be good.
Age, height? I know he's reasonably tall.
Yeah, this guy's described as being about 6 foot tall, 20 to 22 years of age. Black guy, he's quite athletically built, quite big built person.
Now, the other guy who went off to try the PIN number at the ATM did not take part in this worst part of the violence. What happens to him if he comes forward? He might want to say, look, nothing to do with me.
Well, it's better that he comes forward so that we can deal with him rather than...
You'll still presumably prosecute him for the burglary, though,
Yes,
won't you?
oh, definitely we will. But obviously, if he comes forward, it's better than us having to track him down. I'm sure the courts will be more lenient if he comes forward.
And given the extent of the violence, maybe this is another case where family, friends are going to ring up too.
Yeah, I'm definite that somebody out there is going to know who this is. It might be a family friend, a relative, but there's no room here for loyalty. If you know who this person is, you need to contact us.
And they'll probably been talking about it too, because they obviously didn't anticipate this would happen. Call us here in the studio, or call the incident room on 020 8247 8434. And if you've been the victim of a crime, not necessarily a violent crime, any crime, you can call victim support on 0845 30 30 900.
Yeah, like Nick said, we're getting some great stuff coming in on that Newport gang attack, which I'm personally really pleased about. And those guys acted like a pack of animals on there on that CCTV that we showed you. Had several names put forward, but we still want some more stuff to come in if you know anything at all. Also getting some really good stuff coming in on the Surrey hammer attacker. We've had 40 plus calls and rising all the time. We've also had names suggested for him and other leads, and although I can't give them to you right now on air, I can reassure you that the officers are extremely pleased with that. Lines are still open. If you know anything that can help us out about any of these cases, please do give us a call.
Well, that sounds like some good news. And we've heard a lot about stolen jewellery tonight. Let's end with something that's been recovered. Thing is, we don't know who it belongs to. Now, this is part of a haul valued at nearly £1 million found by police in Somerset.
And it's quite a collection, a real magpie, if you like. Precious gems, quirky trinkets, the whole lot. They range from classic diamonds like these over here. This one, I think, set in a ring with an 8-letter inscription on the inside of the band. There's some also actually quite comical gold pendants, aren't there?
Absolutely. Well, there's this kind of little doll here, a gold doll. Then we've got little Dumbo, look at that. And then these, was it boxing gloves, aren't they?
Look,
yeah.
Look, somebody describes looking like the inside of an incredibly upmarket Christmas cracker. There's a little clown here, and here, I don't know if you can see that, there's a little lion with a ring in his back. Now, you'll find more details of these and images on our website. That's along with details of all tonight's other cases. That's bbc.co.uk/crime. And we have some more good news to end on. Trident officers investigating the killing of Barrington Williams Samuels, and we highlighted his shooting last month. They say they've made some real progress as a result of the programme.
Now, if you remember, he was a 19-year-old shot dead in his car outside a London nightclub on January the 2nd. He was with his sister who made that extraordinary 999 call. 4 people have now been arrested and questioned, but police want key witnesses on the bus parked in front of Barrington's car to come forward, and also anyone who was working at the Palace Pavilion at the time.
Remember, there's a £20,000 reward on that one, and as we said last time, anonymity is guaranteed. Our phone lines here are open until midnight tonight and from 7:30 until midnight tomorrow.
We're back after the news with Crimewatch Update at 10:40. Later in some regions, join us if you can. Crimewatch next time is on Wednesday, April the 5th.
It won't be so violent then, I promise. Whatever happens, don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.